A very good afternoon, much thanks for joining us here on the program. I am Nancy Lima and you're just in time for trending news. Do stay with me for the next few minutes as I bring you up to speed with stories that are trending today. Let's begin. The National Dialogue has entered its 27th day today, with various stakeholders appearing before their committee to submit their proposals. The Registrar of Political Parties under RUTO, who was among those who appeared before the committee today, noted the need to have laws in place that will regulate the hopping from one party to another before the lapse of one's tenure in office. The dialogue team is expected to retreat to draft its recommendations after listening to views from all stakeholders.
Something would be useful. An audit that would go to investigate whether there was system failure at any point and whether that system can be improved so that it never misfires again. I think that nobody would quarrel with that. Now, Honorable Omar, socio-economic rights, Honorable Omar says, and where shall we fund this? Where shall we fund social justice from? And I would concede the argument that we must fund it from taxes. There is no other way to affordable housing. There is no other way to healthcare. There is no other way to schooling. There is no other way to a decent environment. We are just about to have an El Nino that will put hundreds of thousands of Kenyans living by the riversides of our country in grave and mortal danger. And the only way we can protect that is again to spend more. We have to spend more on protecting that. And unfortunately, I have a feeling we would have to either borrow or tax. And that is the reality of it. Honorable Amalwa wanted to know whether there is Article 138 of the Constitution, whether there is...
That is a developing story. It will be coming your way in details in our subsequent bulletins at 7 p.m. and at 9 p.m. Away from that, in a bid to counter the rising cases of terrorism, Interior Principal Secretary Raymond Omolo today morning held a meeting with Deputy Inspector General Police Douglas Kanja. The PS noted that the government has put in place measures to counter the recent spate of terrorist activities in the country. Omolo exuded confidence that with the partnership with key stakeholders, including residents, in gathering intelligence that will help to tackle terrorism.
The issue or the threats of terrorism in northeastern and coastal regions. So we had a team that comprised of the regional security and intelligence committees of the two regions, together with the county security intelligence teams. So we went through a review of the issues around terrorism, and also the plans around trying to address the ever-existing threat on terrorism, particularly in Lamu and certain parts of northeastern. So that team, of course, we've ended up with a raft of proposals that we'll be implementing over the next 2 years. But the biggest takeaway is the role that the multi-agency plays in trying to address the threat of terrorism. So we are calling on every player within government, outside government, the elected leadership, particularly from the two regions, and also the citizens, wananchi themselves, because without wananchi, who actually are the biggest group that bears the brunt of terrorism, it's difficult to completely deal with the effects of the terrorism itself.
The budget and responsibility is to see to it that there is peace and security in our country. In this region, we know there are many issues on security, and that is where our discussion has been centered on. We are doing well, and I'm grateful to the officers.
Now, members of Parliament drawn from the Seventh-day Adventist Church have today launched an SDA parliamentarian caucus that will establish a network of SDA lawmakers in Kenya and the larger East African region, with a view of having the SDA principles as guidance in advancing reforms in the legislative debates. The caucus will also nurture youthful parliamentarians to remain grounded in faith and good morals while they carry out their legislative role.
In this also of the message is intended what he really is.
And that is part of
the mission and objective of this caucus is to first remain as Christians and then parliamentarians. Second, the work of a parliamentarian is so crucial that we need spiritual feeding every week. So the issue of mentorship and fellowship every week with one another. We also want to support our local churches, where we come from, where we represent people, that we may involve in planting churches and also mentorship. One of the objectives also here is to be cautious when we are legislating, that we may become and remain sensitive to all those legislation that we do in Parliament, and ensure that they reflect Christian virtues. As a national parliament, we also have issues of virtue, morality, and all these that are plaguing our country. This caucus will ensure that we are in the front line in making sure that those virtues are upheld in a Christian fashion. We want to mentor our young people. We have just realized from our faith that every year we are losing 29,000 young people who enter into professions. Because they lack directions, we lose them. They go off through our fingers. We will be visiting many institutions, universities, high schools, you name it, so that we can remain role model, not only in being seen, but also talking to them and living like a Christian.
And elsewhere, Trade and Industry Cabinet Secretary Moses Kuria now says the launch of County Industrial Park in Kajiado County will mark the end of brokers and the middlemen who for many years have impoverished farmers in the region. Admitting that tomato and onion farmers have been exploited by middlemen, Kuria noted that business people and farmers will be assisted by the government to add value to their products through the aggregated industrial parks across the country.
Tuweze kufanya powder ya kitunguu ndio tukaweze kuuza Marekani, tuuze Ulaya, tuuze China na tuuze pande zingine. Sasa pengine nikisema hiyo mnafikiria ati lazima ndio uweze kuja hapa ati wewe kuwe mtu tajiri. Hapana. Sisi wizara yangu pamoja na governor tutanunua mashine. Kama ni ya tomato sauce sio lazima ukuwe na mashine yako. Unakuja hapa, unalipa kitu kidogo, unakodisha hiyo machine, unapakiwa, unaenda kuuza, ama unatuambia tukupatie mtu wa kununua wewe wenyewe. Kwa sababu tulisema hii serikali ni ya bottom up. Bottom up ni kusema hata hustler atakuwa mtu wa export. Hata hustler atakuwa mtu ya industrialist. Sio lazima ukuwe mkubwa. Na hiyo ndio tunaita common user facility itakuja hapa.
You know, we are going to work hand in hand with other Kenyans kujenga taifa letu. Sisi hatutaendelea kuuza raw milk, tutaanza kuuza cheese, tutauza ghee, tutauza maziwa mala vile mmeusia waziri Kuria sasa hivi pale. Hatutaendelea kutojua soko ya nyama iko wapi. Hata kama soko ya nyama iko Dubai, tutapeleka nyama Dubai.
Siaya County Government, through the Department of Tourism and Sports, has adopted a homestay concept with a view to promote local tourism in the region. County Executive Committee member for Tourism, Angela Nodor, says they have adopted the homestay concept as a way of promoting the conservation of the Luo culture, noting that the tourists shall be expected to blend with the local families and practice the things done locally. Odor speaking during the World Tourism Day celebrations at Kamzungu area in Bondo Sub-County.
Like the name suggests, is whereby you just get a home and you stay in that home. This is where a visitor comes and you host this visitor in your home. Within your home, you live with that visitor as like a part of your family. It is the difference between homestay and hotel is that hotel, the visitor is isolated and they have they do their things their own way. But homestay, the visitor should be able to blend within your lifestyle as the owner of that home. And all of us, any one of us, can be able to do it as long as you meet the threshold, which are very minimum requirements. We assess you as the Department for Culture and Tourism. We do an assessment in collaboration with the national agencies like the Tourism Regulatory Authority. And 2 months ago, we did an assessment across all the 6 sub-counties within Siaya County, and 22 homesteads were cleared and identified to practice the homestay concept.
The way to go is this homestay. The way to go is this homestay. First of all, the capital you are going to use there is at least reasonable. Secondly, nobody is going to stay by the roadside and enjoy those facilities. So we must think out of the box as Siaya County.
And still in the Nyanza region, education stakeholders in Kisii County, led by Basi Bugetario, MCA Ibrahim Mashuki, now want the recommendations on the competency-based curriculum CBC to be implemented. The leaders claim that the lack of commitment from the government in ensuring the curriculum is a success, noting that the government should pay more attention to pre-primary education and hiring of qualified teachers. Capture Treasurer Zipporah Gisari expressed concern over the plight of ECDE learners who were forced to use primary school classrooms, calling on the government to provide the much-needed facilities.
Our government seems to be a bit reluctant in emphasizing the preschool education. That is the pre-unit, the nursery school we call it, or the PP1, PP2. Those ones, I would propose that something should be done to employ qualified teachers and enough for each and every school, because that's the beginning of knowledge. If you don't give them the background and then later on you are trying to push the student at the body level, it may be a bit difficult to achieve whatever you wanted to achieve.
I think the main problem which we are having, saying is good, but the whole idea, it is about implementation. If it will be implemented, that one would assist. Each and every student will get an opportunity to run, to go to school. Like those ones who are able, who are coming from rich families.
For us to realize a maximum potential from this kind of education, we need enough resources. Both the personnel resources, that in terms of teachers, in terms of the technicians, the laboratories. We also need some resources in terms of lab equipment and other resources that students will be able to carry out some demonstrations here and there.
The All Kalau Arboretums master plan that seeks to inform the iconic 79-acre park into a modern tourism ecosystem has now been launched by Nyandarua Governor Kiari Badilisha. The governor noted that the county intends to have a modern tourism information center, a mega museum, among other development projects geared towards boosting and rejuvenating the tourism industry in the county, as it issued promotional and empowerment tools and equipment to various groups as part of catalyzing the domestic tourism market.
In the tourism sector, such as the Tourism Regulatory Authority, Kenya Tourism Board, Tourism Fund, Utalii College, and Tourism Promotion Fund, among others. The county is working closely with the National Museums of Kenya in the construction of a county museum and preservation of both the Mau Mau and the colonial history, incorporating the Kikuyu cultural heritage and the unique identity of Nyandarua as an epicenter of the freedom struggle. To develop the whole tourism ecosystem within Nyandarua County, the county government is also developing related sites and assets which add into the development of the tourism sector in the county.
And after some sporting action, the Portland Trail Blazers have traded Damian Lillard to Milwaukee Bucks in a 3-team deal. The trade involves the Blazers receiving Jerry Holiday, DeAndre Ayton, and Toumani Camara, a 2028, 2029, and 2030 first-round pick swap from Milwaukee, while the Phoenix Suns received Yusuf Narik, Nasir Little, Keon Johnson, and Grayson Allen. The Bucks now threaten to have a probable lineup consisting of Damian Lillard, Chris Middleton, Brook Lopez, Pat Connaughton, and Giannis Antetokounmpo. And we've come to the end of the broadcast this afternoon, but let me bring you up to speed with what you can be expecting later on at 7 p.m. Look Up Tarifa and Look Up News at 9 p.m. We're getting a focus on the national dialogue, the talk that are happening at Bomas of Kenya, and today being the 27th day, different stakeholders appearing before the National Dialogue Committee, and today it was the Registrar of Political Parties and RUTO talking about party hopping, trying to curb that before the tenure is over for different members of parliament. We'll be taking a keen eye on that. There's a story that is developing and we are working on. And as well, a lot happening on the business front, as well as a lot of sporting action. Keep it right here on Lookuptv. I am Nancy Nalima. Have a pleasant afternoon. Goodbye.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations. Feel free to get in touch with us through